What's up, guys? How you doing? This is Philip Start again, and in today's episode you might notice something here beside me. I'm not going to be coding, but what I'm going to be doing here is talking about some of these books. So over the years I've kind of developed a large collection of books. Most of them are Java based. Obviously I'm a Java developer, that's what I love to do. And I really just want to show you guys and highlight some of my favorite books. And in this episode I'm going to be talking about Java Design Pattern Essentials and how I feel that it's a really critical book that all Java developers should read, and maybe if you really can't be bothered reading the book, at least be aware of it and understand some basic patterns, because these patterns are used all over the industry and all different code bases. You'll find these over and over and over again, and if you can master these patterns or get your head around the patterns or understand them at least, it means you can add to them, understand the code a lot quicker, and it means you can come into a company, quickly perform some static analysis with your eyes, not with a tool, on the code base to get up to speed and really get productive fast. So let me pull that book down. No, it's not Netty in action. I'll be doing a review on that. This is also another good book, Migrating to Cloud Native Application Architectures. I used a lot of this in my previous job when I worked in corporate IT. So the book I'm going to be reviewing is this one. So hopefully you can see that. Java Design Pattern Essentials, 2nd edition. So this book basically is going to cover the Gang of Four. So the Gang of Four is 4 patterns, and there's many different actual implementations of patterns within them, 4 different types. So of course, what are the 4 types? Well, I'm not going to basically sit here and read this book, but I'm just going to go over a couple of my favorite ones. So the first of them is we have creational patterns. Second of them, we're going to have like structure patterns, and we're going to have behavioral patterns, and the last one is really a group of additional patterns, but I wouldn't say there's a topic to cover them. And let me just scan down the list here. As you can see, there's going to be loads of different patterns within these, and let me talk about which patterns that I kind of like. So in this book, I really, first of all, in the creational patterns, the few patterns that I use heavily in my code base and the code bases I've worked with are, of course, the builder pattern. So you want a nice fluent DSL to actually build up your objects. Unless it's a really high performance system, you don't really want to do that there. So you want a nice way to build these objects that the developers can read, work with, and it's really pretty to understand. And typically you want to maybe build an immutable object, so there's less chance of it changing over time, over its course in the life cycle in the application, which means you typically introduce less bugs. So find out about the builder pattern, or maybe some other patterns. I also like the singleton pattern. Singleton pattern is where you actually create an object once and it's reused between all the different threads, so you can share that safely in a multi-threaded application, which is pretty neat as well. A lot of people hate it, but hey, I kind of like it. It works well. It's good for high performance, and that's the bottom line, fortunately. Other ones, structural patterns. So we've got here, I just showed you there, but the one I kind of like here is I like the decorator. I also like proxy and adapter. So decorator is in Java. If you've ever worked with input streams or output streams, well, they're all decorated. So it means basically you can decorate an interface with some additional logic, and then it'll pass the work on to the next one. So it'll decorate an implementation with something additional. So it's pretty neat. Proxy, maybe you have an object and you don't want it to actually do everything that the object actually does. Well, you can implement the interface, pass in an implementation interface into the constructor, and instead of delegating directly through, maybe you can control access, add some additional security policies there, and really enhance that object to whatever you want. And of course, the standard adapter is adapting a class to an interface that it doesn't exist. That's used everywhere, so you have to know how that works. Other things I like, let me just flick over the page. Other patterns, I like strategy pattern, momento, understanding how an object looks at any particular time. So maybe it's saving off the the state of an object. It's not used everywhere, but it is used in maybe systems with a lot of auditing, or maybe you have to restore things at certain points in time, like time series. I've seen it used there. Template method, so you typically have a skeleton algorithm, and then you'd have a method that each implementation can override, so it performs some common functionality, and then it performs the specific functionality of that class, so you can quickly exchange in and out these classes as you need, and each one does certain logic. Other ones are null objects, so we don't really need that anymore. If you're using collections, you've got empty collections, and now in Java 8 we have the optional, or in, of course, Google's classes, you also have the optional. If you're not using Java 8, you can bring in dependency Guava, I think it is, and start using the optional from there. So this is why I really like this book. Yeah. These patterns, I don't recommend any particular brand. I read this one, but I'm sure there's going to be lots of other ones. There's going to be, maybe I think it's Gamma is the original one, but I definitely recommend you get up to speed with these patterns. I've just named a few of the ones that I've used quite heavily and I've seen quite a lot, but yeah, they're used everywhere. All different code bases in the industry are guaranteed basically to use these. Slightly moving away from that with smaller applications, smaller artifacts. Really, there's a lot less code in there, especially if you're building AWS Lambdas or serverless based architectures, which I'll completely cover in another subject if you guys want. But in traditional, bigger monolithic kind of applications, these are used everywhere. And guess what? Java's been around for the last 20 years, so there's thousands and thousands and thousands of applications that need supported, updated, maintained, decommissioned, euthanized, and you guys are going to have to work on that in the future, if not already. So if you enjoyed this video, make sure you subscribe. I enjoy making these videos. I'm going to do another video, and the next video what I'm going to do is actually talk about the books I read in what particular order to get to the level that I'm at now in terms of building Java online HTTP applications. So guys, make sure you subscribe, and I will see you in the next video.